Hey friends, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this video. My name is Steven and I am a third year dental student. I've said this a lot in the past, but one of the most important aspects of success in dental school or in anything in life really is organization. Today, as I begin the process of my spring semester of my third year of dental school, I'm gonna be taking you through my full organization method, what I do, how I keep everything in my dental school life organized, and kind of go into some of the specifics. This truly is one of the most important things, so if you're looking at getting a little bit more organized yourself, hopefully there are some principles in this video that you can use, and if not, maybe this will be just something enjoyable for you to see, kind of how I organize my patients, appointments, and all sorts of other things. It's all going to be covered in this video and I'm excited about it. So if you like to see dental school content and you want to see similar content, make sure you subscribe and like this video to let me know that you enjoyed it. Let's get into it. If you haven't seen my How to Survive Clinic video, I think you should absolutely watch that before watching this video. I'll link it right here, but that's an important video because I go through a lot of the things that I did last semester in my first semester of clinic in dental school that helped me get through. And I believe the first thing that I talked about was organization. Organization in clinic is absolutely essential. There's just way too much information and way too much to keep track of to not be super organized. I've never been the most organized person in the world when it comes to school. I tend to kind of go week to week with my schedule and just kind of get things done as they come along. I'm never usually that organized for months in advance, for example. But with clinic and all of the patients that I have and all of the requirements that I need to graduate, it's just too much. So I've developed an organization system that I personally like, that works for me. Once again, there are things in this video that you might appreciate, that you might use, but if things don't exactly gel with you, then you don't need to feel like you use them. It's kind of like studying. Everybody works in a different way. Everybody's brains are different. So if there are certain things that in this video you think that might work for me, give them a try and you might find yourself being just a little bit more organized because of them. Let's hop right into this. So of course, if you saw that video about surviving clinic, you would recognize this book. This is my little green book and it has all of my patient appointments from my first semester in clinic, which was last semester. I went through kind of how I organized this book in that video about surviving clinic, and this thing right here has been invaluable to me. But the book only took me through that semester, so I got another one. This is now the little black book, the book that will take me through this entire calendar year of 2023. And I'm basically formatting it in a very similar way to what I did with the green one, just making a couple of little changes. So we'll walk through what I do to this book to make it suit me. And once again, there are gonna be things that you might appreciate and you might enjoy from this. And there's gonna be other things that you might see and say, I would do it a little bit differently if it were me. But the first things first is taking the yearly calendar and actually numbering it and going through and adding all of the important information into like the month by month yearly calendar. The thing that I like about this particular planner, which I'll link in the description by the way, is that it's completely configurable. A lot of planners will be like a planner for the year of 2023 and everything is actually already written down in there, all the dates are already in there and stuff, and that's actually pretty nice. But I like this planner because it means that I can use multiple years of the same book and have that consistency, and I can myself go in and add the dates. So the first step of the process is going through the yearly calendar month by month and adding all of the dates into this particular format. I keep it really simple and add the dates really small in there in green, and that's just gonna help me get a starting point. The next thing that I do to this book is I add these red squares. Now, this is where it's important to understand a little bit more about how things work in our school. There is a master schedule for us, and that is the schedule that has all of our lectures, labs, and clinic time laid out week by week. It's not something I'll show in this video, but I have kind of talked about it in the past. So the first step of this entire organization process is to get this book and get out the full screen of the master schedule and basically translate all of what's in the master schedule directly into here. The most important thing for this book is actually these red squares, and these red squares represent our clinic time, the available slots that we're able to schedule our own patients in the clinic. So I've gone through and added morning and afternoon clinic availability slots just wherever they pop up in the master schedule. I've also gone in and added things like spring break, breaks away from school, and the next part about the master schedule, which is the blocks. We have a full block schedule, and a block schedule is essentially There's multiple clinics in the school and we rotate through different blocks occasionally. So every once in a while we will get an oral surgery block or an oral diagnosis block, just different things that pop up. And it's important to go into that schedule, find where you're blocked and when, and translate it in somewhere so that you can look at it, have it, and when you go to schedule your patient appointments, you know that you have a block so you can't schedule on that day. Now, instead of doing this, some of my classmates will actually just print out the master schedule, which does have big white blank spaces for our clinic time, and they'll just translate the block schedule onto that. They'll write all their patient appointments onto that master schedule. I think that's probably the most common way to organize for people in my class. I just prefer having it in a little book. I think for me, it works a lot better. And what I really like about this book is that when I'm on the phone with a patient or texting back and forth with a patient or sitting in the clinic with a patient discussing scheduling an appointment for them, I can very quickly look at this whole thing and see the entire month and where my availability actually sits. And I can actually take this physical book if I'm with them and show them. And I can say, so you're looking for the week of the 17th, let's put you down for, the 18th afternoon at 1 o'clock or something like that. It's just all right here for me. And it does take some time to lay out all these boxes and everything, but I really like the way that it comes out and it keeps me super organized. And what it looks like when I actually do end up having things scheduled, I go through and I have a color system where I put these little hash marks in the boxes when I've scheduled an appointment. The colors are based on the specialty that the appointment's in. You can see all of my pins back here. I do get clowned on a little bit for having colored pins as a 26-year-old man, but you know what? It's important for my organization, so we're gonna keep doing that. But I'll go through and I'll add all of the hash marks in the boxes, just whatever the appointment is. For example, this Monday I have an operative appointment, and then the afternoon I actually need to fill this box in. That'll be a fixed appointment, a removable appointment perio, and then you see a block. So that's kind of the way it looks for me, and I really appreciate having that week overview look at just my schedule. It makes things so much easier for me. Now, once we get past this part of the book, which is the month by month schedule, we actually have day by day schedules. So we can go in and have space for each individual day. And this is the place that I will actually add the patient's name of the appointment that is scheduled. So I'll add their name, their chart number, and what we're doing together. And that's just a place for me to kind of have a little bit more information. And also too, when I go to actually see the patient in the clinic, I have a place to write down notes. And I talked a lot about this in the clinic video. Now, a couple of changes that I will be making to the setup from the green book to this semester's black book. One thing that I'm doing differently is I used to have these little tabs for the months just to kind of show me like very quickly what the months were. And this is totally an OCD thing, but I don't love the way that looks. So this time around, I've gone with a very simple setup that just puts the 3 letters of the date right up there at the top. FEB for February, and not the date, the month, I should say. January, just like that. Very simple, but makes things a little bit more clean, and I'm kind of OCD about things. So that's one change that I've made. Another change that I'm making with this book is that with my versioned 1.0 last semester's book, I actually wrote down all of our master schedule in the day by day blocks. So I went through and wrote out what lectures we had, what labs we had, and it took me forever because I basically had to transcribe the entire master schedule into this book instead of just putting it in the sort of overview look, which is this part. I'm basically just not doing that this semester because I didn't use it last semester. The way that I look at my schedule is on my phone. I'll show you really quickly how I do that. We have all of our entire schedule in our Outlook email for the school. And so what I do is I have a thing there at the top, and that just shows me, it will show me what the schedule is and what's coming up. So if I need to see what lectures we have, I can very quickly see it right here, as opposed to going through and writing everything down in the book, which just takes way too long and I didn't use. So when it comes to things like a planner, definitely try things out. And if you don't use something honestly every day, and if it's not useful for you and it takes up time in the first place, just don't do it, because you might as well save your time if you're gonna spend it on something that you're not going to use. That is the extent of the little black book. This thing is going to be coming with me every single day for this entire semester, and I'm excited about it. it just works for me. And if you're interested in a similar planner setup, once again, the link will be down in the description and you can kind of do what I've done. All right, the next part of this entire video is my Notion setup. Now I've talked about Notion a lot in the past, and it just kind of depends on the semester how I've organized things, because different semesters require different things from you. But I've zeroed in on a couple of pages in my Notion now that help me stay organized, especially with clinic and what we do there. So of course here, if you're familiar with my dental school Notion page, I've gone ahead and created my DDS3 spring semester of 2023, clinic 2, second semester being in the clinic. So we'll click on this page, and these are the pages that I'm using now outside of this one, which we're gonna dive into in just a second. I have a clinical requirements page, a handbook page, which is basically just important information that I might need to reference quickly, and then a patient database page. So let's click on the sample dental school pages, and these are the sample pages that I've devised to show you. This is an example of what those pages back there actually look like, and these two pages are particularly helpful to me. So the first one we'll look at is the sample patient database page. When you're in the clinic, you will have a lot of patients. I currently have like 30, and so it's very important to keep them all organized. You can do this with an Excel sheet or something like that. I just prefer to do it in Notion. So the way that it looks is just like this. This is the sample patient database page. I have the patient's name here last and then comma first, and then I have their chart number. Every patient has a chart number in our school system so that we can quickly look them up and reference them. I'll add their phone number in. I then go to the clinic, which is just a simple drop down, and it's usually undergrad. Just click that. Patient status. So right here, if they're an active patient that I'm seeing, they'll be active. And then I have other options. So, you know, inactivate the patient, remove the patient, their case complete, they need to go on hygiene recall. All of these are different options. It's usually active though. Next up is a really, really important tab for me. And this is basically just the next appointment that they're gonna need. So you see all of these different options. These are different types of appointments that we might go through. Let's say we've been through oral diagnosis with a patient. The next step is actually a treatment plan appointment. So I would go with that. But some patients go straight to D1110, which is a prophy or a cleaning. So I would put that, and then the to do is, have I actually scheduled this appointment? And if I have, I'll go to done. That means it's done, but I can also say that I've contacted the patient, or I need to contact them again, or it's in progress. Like if I'm actually working on it in some way, I'll do that. But usually that is done, like to get these things done. And just having that selection there, that to do part is really nice, because I can see what's next up and I can see what all I need to actually get to if I have some extra time. Requirements is an important thing to have for each patient as well, because we have graduation requirements. We have a bunch of things that we have to do in order to graduate. And so in this area, I will actually just put down the different options that this patient might be for me and for my graduation status. So let's say that they're a perio case, I can go through and click that. Let's say they also need a removable partial denture, I can go in and do that. And then like oral surgery. Those are the things I can quickly put those down. And then requirement status. This is simply if I've actually verified that they're going to do the work with me in the school. So let's say I've actually planned it, I'd put down planned. If I haven't met the patient yet and I don't know for sure, I would put down assess. So there's just a bunch of different options in here and things to keep track of each patient. Honestly, I really like the way that this works for me. It's kind of set up for me personally and for my school, but I do think most dental students would be able to use something very similar to this and kind of mold and adapt it to what they personally do in school. Let's go back and look at the sample clinical requirements. Now, in order to graduate from dental school, of course, we have to have a bunch of clinical requirements completed. And for this video, I've gone ahead and added in kind of what our operative dentistry requirements look like. And just so I can show you how I keep track of this information as well in my Notion. Very simple, just another table here. And on the side, I'll go through and add all of the requirements and how they actually look. So for the next column over is the semester in which these requirements are due. So the only thing that was due for operative last semester was 300 points. We get points when we actually do fillings or operative procedures. So you can see that this is due in the D3 fall here. And then I also have a status that shows if I've started it, or if I'm in progress, or if I've finished it. Now over here, this is another thing that I really like, and this is a number that is calculated out of the total. So right here, you can see how many points I actually have, and I believe this is measured out of 2,500 because 2,500 is the amount of points that we have to graduate. So I'll add these in just to kind of show how I'm doing each semester in my points. I also have these competencies that you can see right here, these comps, and those are, all of them are not started for me, but they're all listed there so I know what I need to do in the future. I'm having a hard time explaining this for some reason. It's actually really simple, but ultimately, like, this system works for me. I've seen more complicated systems for tracking requirements. For me, it's very, very simple. I just need to know what I've done and like how much of a certain thing I've gotten done. So I have this all laid out. This particular operative dentistry table will be on a page with all the other specialties. And it's all laid out there for me. I can see everything I've done and just know kind of where I'm at in clinic, and it doesn't need to be any more complex than that. That is the Notion setup. And once again, you can do all of this in another place like Excel, or I guess Google has, what's it called, tables or something. You can do this somewhere else, but I really like Notion. It's very easy to use, and these tables are very simple to create. You just add a table, and then you go in and you can change the columns and what the actual like unit of measurement for that column is. You can colorize everything and make it look nice. It's just my personal favorite way to do things. So the little black book and my Notion are the two biggest elements of this video, but I did want to quickly mention physical organization of all of the items that we use in dental school. I've made dental kit videos in basically every single semester that I've been in dental school, and I will link that playlist right here. It's just got all of the dental school supplies that, once again, we've purchased in the past semesters and used. You can check that out if you want to see like the things that we buy in dental school. Thankfully, this semester our dental kit is extremely small and not even worth showing. There's not a whole lot in there because we've basically purchased everything we need to get by. So there is physical organization. I have kind of basically organized everything into bins, and you can see that video where I put everything together and got everything organized last semester. That is all on campus right now, organized and tucked away in my lockers. And I really like that system. It works well for me. I generally keep everything really organized. Occasionally something gets misplaced and that happens, but pretty content with the way things are physically organized on campus. And that, my friends, is really it. There's not a whole lot more to say. I have kind of gotten to this point of organization through multiple semesters of trial and error, just figuring out what I do, what I use, and the things that I actually appreciate. I am one of those people where I'll go into something and have a big idea about organization. I'll think I need to make this elaborate Notion page and have all of this information and all of these different options and plugins and things to do, and then I end up not using it because it's just too time consuming. So I always default back to a very simple system that I like and that works for me, and that would be my advice to you. Default to something simple that works for you. There's going to be trial and error in figuring out, like in the process of getting there, what actually works. But when you get there, you'll know, you'll say, these are the things that I use every day. These things actually help me. And if there's extra fluff, get rid of it. You don't need it. But my friends, if you want to be successful in dental school or really in any endeavor in your life, you have to be organized. Organization is key. So I'm glad we were able to go through the things that I do semester by semester, really mostly just for clinic at this point, because that's the big stuff. That's the big ticket item at this point in school. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned a couple things. And if you do have any questions about the Notion setup or anything else that I talked about in this video, please let me know down in the comments below, and I will definitely get to commenting in response. I appreciate you all for watching, and stay tuned for all of the wonderful videos that will come out this semester surrounding my dental school experience. There's going to be plenty to go around and plenty to see. So you don't want to miss it. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification to make sure that you stay up to date. Gosh, this is not, this part.
Are you sure about that, bruh?
Just subscribe if you want to see more videos. And as I always say at the end of my videos, I will see you in the next one.